Your backyard chickens are losing you money, not a little. Consistently, every single month, losing you money. I know that is hard to hear, but the math is not negotiable. The average backyard flock of 10 hens costs $45 to $60 a month in commercial feed, and returns maybe $30 to $40 in eggs at grocery store prices. That is a $10 to $30 monthly loss dressed up as self-sufficiency. And the tragedy is not that you chose chickens. The tragedy is that nobody ever showed you the 7 animals where the math actually runs in reverse, where the feed bill is covered by what the animal produces, and everything beyond that is food you never paid for or income you never expected. I have been running those 7 animals on a backyard setup for 3 years. This video is the exact breakdown I wish someone had given me on day 1. Every animal, every feed cost, every return. By the end, you will know which species to run, what each one truly earns, and how to stack them so they feed each other. Let's get into the math. Here is the number that should change how you think about this. The average American household spent $1,414 on meat, poultry, fish, and eggs in 2024. That figure jumped 21.5% in a single year, the largest single-category food price increase ever recorded by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Eggs alone rose 21.9% in 2025 after avian flu wiped out 127 million commercial laying hens. The store is failing you. The supply chain is failing you. But here is what nobody tells you. The alternative system that worked for millions of families 100 years ago is not chickens alone. It is a specific set of animals running specific roles, converting scraps and foraging into protein at almost no purchased cost. Most people never find those animals because the companies selling $50 bags of layer pellets have no interest in explaining them. A backyard that does not need commercial feed is a customer lost. So the knowledge stays buried in old farming pamphlets, medieval estate records, and USDA wartime bulletins nobody reads anymore. Today, you are reading it. The reason your current animals are costing you money is not your fault. It is selection. You were handed a list of backyard animals built by and for an industry that profits from your monthly feed purchases. There is a different list. 7 animals selected by farmers who had no feed store to fall back on, who needed each animal to produce more than it consumed or it got replaced. That list was buried after 1945 when refrigerated trucking made cheap industrial meat available everywhere. But the biology did not change. The economics did not change. Here is the historical proof. In January of 1943, the USDA published a pamphlet that went to every American home. The title was Meat for Victory. The featured animal was rabbits, 3 does, 1 buck, 90 days. They promoted it because the feed conversion ratio of a meat rabbit made it the most efficient protein source a civilian could run. Meanwhile, England had been running over 26,000 dovecotes for hundreds of years. Pigeons that flew out to forage and came home to feed their own young were economically powerful. This knowledge did not vanish because it stopped working. It vanished because the feed industry needed customers. Now you are getting it back. Subscribe right now and hit the bell because the 7th animal on this list closes the loop on every other animal you run, and it costs nothing to feed because it runs entirely on scraps. Animal 1, Coturnix Quail, best dollar return per square foot of any backyard animal on the list. A single Coturnix hen eats 1 pound of game bird feed per month, 60 cents at 2025 prices. She lays 22 to 25 eggs. Those eggs return $8 gross. Net per hen per month, $7.40. No chicken produces those numbers per bird. 10 square feet generates $200 or more per month. When you account for both the egg revenue and the value of 60 to 75 meat birds per year at $12 to $15 per dressed quail sold direct. They start laying at 6 weeks. Chickens take 5 to 6 months. FCR is 1 pound of feed per dozen eggs, nearly double the efficiency of chicken layers by mass. Animal 2, meat rabbits. New Zealand White or Californian, the 2 breeds that actually produce at commercial conversion. One breeding doe eats $8 to $10 of pellets per month. She produces 30 to 40 market-ready fryers per year at 8 to 12 weeks of age, each dressing at 2.5 to 3.5 pounds. Direct-to-consumer rabbit meat in 2025 moves at $8 to $15 per pound. One doe nets $40 to $50 per month at retail pricing after feed costs. A breeding trio, 1 buck and 2 does, occupies 40 square feet of stacked wire hutches. That 40 square feet produces 200 to 400 pounds of clean protein annually. USDA documented feed conversion runs 3 pounds of feed per pound of meat. Beef requires 6 to 8 pounds live weight, far worse at edible weight. Now here is the integration mechanic that makes rabbits twice as valuable. Rabbit manure is cold manure. It goes directly onto garden beds. No composting, no waiting, no burning. Stack rabbit hutches above a worm bin, and every pellet that misses the feeder, every dropping that falls through the wire floor, becomes vermicompost and worm protein for your quail and chickens below. The rabbit pays for itself once in meat and a second time in fertility. Animal 3, Khaki Campbell Ducks, the most underrated egg layer in backyard farming. A Khaki Campbell hen eats 8.5 pounds of feed per month, $4 to $5. She produces 20 to 25 large eggs. Duck eggs at farmers markets command $7 to $13 per dozen, 2 to 3 times the chicken egg premium because bakers seek them specifically for their extra fat content and richer yolk. Net per Khaki Campbell per month, $10 to $15 after feed. 6 birds in a 60 square foot run return $60 to $90 per month in premium eggs. And here is the economics that makes them especially strong. Khaki Campbells forage hard. They find 20 to 40% of their own food from slugs, snails, beetles, and waterside vegetation when given rotational access to a yard. That foraging cuts your actual feed spend and raises your effective margin further. They need a kiddie pool, niacin as ducklings, and a covered run because they cannot roost. Those are the 3 management specifics. Outside of those, Khaki Campbells run themselves and return more egg value per dollar of feed than any other breed you can legally run in a suburban backyard. Animal 4, Muscovy Ducks, not a layer, a meat animal. The most feed-efficient meat bird you can run on a backyard without a livestock permit. Muscovies dress at 6 to 8 pounds at a 2.7 to 1 feed conversion ratio. That means they convert grain to body mass more efficiently than commercial Cornish cross broilers by live weight measurement. A drake finished at 12 weeks costs $12 to $15 in purchased feed and produces $60 to $120 of dressed meat sold direct. The foraging offset is 30 to 50%. Muscovies eat slugs, beetles, scraps, water vegetation, and anything else that moves at the right size. They cost less to feed than the label on the bag suggests because they refuse to eat only what is in the feeder. More importantly, Muscovies hatch and raise their own replacements with 0 input from you. A hen goes broody 3 to 4 times per year and raises every duckling herself. You are not buying chicks each spring. You are not running heat lamps. You are not running an incubator. Your replacement flock costs nothing but 60 days of patience. Stack Muscovies alongside Khaki Campbells and you have a 2-species duck operation covering eggs, meat, pest control, and self-replication on under 100 square feet of run space. Pest control and self-replication on under 100 square feet of run space. Animal 5, Pigeons for Squab, the most historically proven low-input protein system in backyard history and the most consistently overlooked by modern homesteaders. A breeding pair of utility kings, Carnots, or Texan pioneers eats 90 to 100 pounds of grain per year, $40 to $60 annually. They produce 12 to 14 squabs per year, at $10 to $25 per bird direct to restaurants and ethnic markets. One pair generates $120 to $350 annually on $40 to $60 of feed. No daily juvenile feeding, no heat lamps, no brooding equipment. A 12-pair loft fits inside a 6x8 shed. The parents feed the squabs entirely through crop milk, no daily juvenile feeding, no heat lamps, no brooding equipment. Free fly them, and 10 pairs produce 8 squabs per month with no purchased feed at all. They leave in the morning, glean grain from fields within 2 miles, and return by evening to feed their young. England ran 26,000 dovecotes on exactly this logic for 500 years. The market today is niche, which is also why you have no competition. Asian restaurants, halal butchers, high-end chefs, and Egyptian markets are your realistic buyers. Palmetto pigeon plant in South Carolina has been back-ordered by restaurant clients for 15 consecutive years. List yourself in your local food directory and make one call to one chef. You will have a buyer before your first squab is ready. Animal 6. Red wigglers, Eisenia fetida, composting worms. The highest cash margin per square foot on this entire list, and the animal most homesteaders walk past without ever realizing it is an animal at all. And the animal most homesteaders walk past without ever realizing it is an animal at all. A $50 plastic storage tote seeded with 1 pound of red wigglers, purchasable for $40, begins producing worm castings within 60 days on kitchen scraps, cardboard, and garden waste you are already generating. 1 pound of worms in a 10-square-foot bin produces 3.5 pounds of castings per pound per month. Castings retail at $3 to $7 per pound at farmers markets. A managed bin holding 5 to 10 pounds of worms generates 15 to 30 pounds of castings monthly worth $45 to $90 retail. Add surplus live worms sold to other composters and fishers at $40 per pound, and that bin generates $80 to $170 per month from material that costs nothing. Add surplus live worms sold to other composters and fishers at $40 per pound, and that bin generates $80 to $170 per month from material that costs nothing. Setup: $50 to $200. Time: 5 to 10 minutes weekly. Break even: 6 months if you sell consistently. Break even: 6 months if you sell consistently. The reason this is not already standard is simple. Nobody told you it was worth marketing. Most homesteaders dig the castings into the garden. The ones who bag them and set up a table at a farmer's market cover their entire homestead feed bill from one plastic bin. Animal 7. Black soldier fly larvae. This is the animal that closes the loop on every other species on this list. A $50 DIY bin seeded with $20 of black soldier fly eggs each spring processes 1 pound of kitchen waste per day into 7 pounds of fresh larvae per week. Those larvae contain 40 to 44% crude protein by dry weight. Dried black soldier fly larvae retail at $5 to $10 per pound commercially. A small bin offsets $60 to $80 per month in commercial feed by replacing it with larvae produced from scraps you are already discarding. The bioconversion rate is 18 to 20% of waste input becoming larval biomass, with 84 to 88% volume reduction in the waste itself. You are reducing landfill waste and producing premium protein simultaneously at zero input cost. In USDA zones 7 through 11, the breeding colony sustains itself through warm months. Colder zones restart each spring with $20 in eggs. Now here is where this animal changes the economics of every other animal on this list. Stack a BSFL bin above your worm bin and below your quail rack. Kitchen scraps drop into the BSFL bin. Larvae feed the quail. Quail manure drops into the worm bin below. Worm castings go onto the garden. The garden produces kitchen scraps. Nothing leaves the system except food. That is the closed loop. That is what paying your own feed bill actually looks like when it is built correctly. And as you build that loop, I want to know which of these 7 you are starting with. Drop it in the comments right now. I read every single one and I will tell you exactly which animal to pair with it to close your first loop fastest. I want to tell you what my operation looked like before I understood any of this. 6 chickens, $50 a month in feed, $40 a month in eggs. I told myself I was even. I was behind by $10 every month before I counted the cost of bedding, water heaters, and the replacement chicks I bought every spring. Before I counted the cost of bedding, water heaters, and the replacement chicks I bought every spring, I had convinced myself that backyard chickens meant independence. I was building a dependency on a different vendor, the feed store instead of the grocery store. Then I put in a $50 worm bin, Within 8 weeks, I was selling castings to 3 gardeners on my street at $5 per pound. Within 4 months, the worm bin covered the chicken feed entirely. I had not changed the chickens or the flock or the routine. I had added one system that produced one sellable product from material I was already discarding, and that one loop covered every other animal I was running. That was the moment I understood that backyard livestock is not about the animal. It is about the loop. An animal with no loop is an expense. An animal inside a loop feeds itself. Here are the 4 mistakes that keep animals in the red regardless of how well you care for them. Mistake 1, wrong breed. Silkies lay 50 eggs a year. Isa Browns lay 280. Flemish Giants have too much bone. New Zealand Whites convert at 3-to-1. Show Kings make terrible squab parents. Utility Kings produce consistently. The breed is not cosmetic. The breed is the entire economic decision. Mistake 2, no buyer before the animals. Eggs pile up, squab piles up, castings pile up. Find one buyer before you run your first batch. Post in a local group. Email one baker about duck eggs. Build demand before supply. Mistake 3, animals without loops. A rabbit alone in a hutch is an expense. A rabbit above a worm bin is a system. Identify what each animal outputs and find the next animal or garden zone that consumes that output. If the output has nowhere to go, you lose half the value every day. Mistake 4, buying replacement animals instead of producing them. Buying chicks each spring costs $125 or more annually that never appears as a line item. Muscovies hatch their own. Pigeons raise their own young, one broody heritage hen and a fertile rooster, and you never buy chicks again. Build self-replication into the system from day one. Picture your backyard 6 months from now. The quail rack is paying for the chicken feed. The worm bin is paying for the quail feed. The rabbit hutches are producing meat your family has not bought from a store in 4 months. The Khaki Campbells laid 43 eggs this week, and you sold 2 dozen to the baker on your street for $22. The Muscovies hatched their own replacements with 0 input from you. The BSFL bin processed every scrap your household produced this week and dropped $60 worth of protein into your birds for free. You are not watching feed prices with anxiety. You are not watching grocery prices at all. You built the loop. The loop feeds itself, and every month it gets a little stronger and the grocery store gets a little more irrelevant. Your backyard was always capable of this. You just needed the right 7 animals in the right loops. Start with 1, close the first loop, then add the next animal. That is the entire system. It has always been enough.